Yeah.
Here's
Who's had COVID?
one of the men can show us how to make rope.
We don't know what that is yet.
We'll have that when this is finished.
Yeah, we're going to have that once this is finished.
So then folks, good afternoon, welcome to the Museum of the Royal Navy Hartlepool. My name is Stuart, very shortly we'll be joined by Kate. So what we're going to do is show you how they used to make rope in the old days, and if you like you can have a go, you can join in, you don't have to. So what we've got is two parts of the machine. That bit is called the stander and that bit is called the travelator. So the stander, not surprisingly, stands still, the travelator moves. So what we're using is show you. So it's pretty insubstantial. This is known as jute then folks. This is made out of cotton. So if we pull it apart, then you get the individual fibres. It's spun like wool. So what we're going to use, 30 strands of this. So there it comes. So it looks like sort of undyed cotton wool, really, which is what it is. So not very strong at the moment, okay for tying up tomato plants or a parcel, but we want a nice strong wool. So what we're doing is taking 10 on each of these, so there's three little rings on here.
Oh.
And what Kate's doing is moving backwards and forwards and putting on 10 strands onto there. So then we're going to cut that and then put another 10 and then another 10. There will be 10 into 3 little ropes and then the 3 ropes in. Right, so outside the stuff is you can put the
Oh, what area?
and the pewter jug.
Oh. That was quick.
So that one we tied. So you can imagine then folks, why the travelator, why it has wheels on, is because if you need to make a long rope, then you move it even further away. And the Navy used to like to buy rope in mile lengths. So you can imagine making a bit like this is okay, it doesn't take long. If you made it a mile, it would certainly take a long time. So, there's the first one. Now, again on the top.
What sort of knot are you using?
That's just any knot to tie that on. It's just to secure it. So a granny knot for that one. We do use a special knot when we finish the rope off, which I'll show you. Play this like that.
Could you hold that for me?
So yeah, so this stuff is cotton then folks. So this was imported generally from Egypt. They did used to use a native plant in this country, hemp, which originally Henry VIII, he gave a royal decree where he said all farmers should grow hemp. Originally it was for bowstrings, and then when he developed the Royal Navy, they needed lots more for all the rope. So the royal decree then of course wasn't a nice polite request. It was from Henry VIII, if you didn't do as you were told, then you was cooked. So right, how many got on there? Okay, 10. Right, so we're going to tie that one on as well. or pouring water on the strip. Did use the less technique. So, what I'm going to do is
They're pouring water.
And allows it to bind better. And then when it dries out, the rope will free.
It's a good job it's not whiskey, dear.
Is that water?
Yes.
I thought it was.
So rope is really important on ships. As you can see, it tied up the masts. That meant you could climb up the masts and raise the sails. Tied the cannon up, the anchor, even your bed. You couldn't sleep properly if you didn't have rope. But the most important rope was the one which could rescue you. Because if you fell off a ship 200 years ago, not many sailors could swim anyway, and they said it was your own fault. If you fell off that ship, they wouldn't stop the ship, they wouldn't turn it around. What they did have was rope on the top, so that if anybody saw you, they could throw a long one and pull you in. So then it also is just quite creative things, like this. So this wasn't for football on a ship then, folks. It was, well, they're still used now in a different way, made out of different stuff. Nowadays, you would use tyres. You often see those on, or sometimes plastic ones as well. What it is, simply then, folks, if you bring in a ship in and you don't do it properly, which still happens like every day, even now, if you hit the side, you're really going to damage the ship. If you have one of these called a fender hanging over the outside, it might get damaged, it might get destroyed. It doesn't matter, it's going to cost a lot more to repair the ship and the captain's reputation, of course. So these saved a lot of embarrassment. So if you were good with rope and you could knit a little bit, then you could make one of those. And then the nastier things that we use for is, so this one then, folks, this is called a bosun's starter. You can see it's got what's called a monkey's fist on the outside. If you were making a rope that you wanted to throw, then you put one of these on the end because it's much easier to throw. But what they used to use it for in the Navy is if you weren't working hard enough, bosuns were nasty people who gave out orders. They would, if you weren't working quick enough, they'd persuade you like that across the back.
Yeah.
So known as a starter because it started people's work. Also, to get people, there's an alarm call, a nasty alarm call on a morning. If you were in a hammock and you didn't get up when the bosun told you, then underneath, yes, you would be getting up quickly. And then an even nastier one, folks, this. Exactly, a cat of nine tails. So this was the traditional punishment in the Royal Navy. This is made out of rope as well, or rather 9 ropes. If you didn't do as you were told, then you could get many lashes with this. The least thing was a thing called dumb insolence, where if you weren't working hard enough, no, if you looked at an officer or you looked at the captain and he didn't like the way you looked at him, then you could get 12 lashes for that, just for looking at somebody. So on Trincomalee as well, they did do it. The first voyage was a guy called Captain Laird Warren. He was known to be quite tough. He had 25 different people flogged back on the first voyage. So rope could be used for good things or for nasty things, as we say. So that's nice and soaked now then, folks. What we're going to do is, when this handle's turned, these 3 little lobs of wet string will then turn into 3 little ropes. So it's quite an easy process. As long as you remember which way to turn it. We have turned it the wrong way before, but we soon learned from that. So, this way, go like this. So you see, it's a bit like plaiting hair. It becomes tighter and tighter. What Kate's doing is keeping it separate and also applying a little bit of pressure to the travel aid at the other end. But as it tightens up, you can see the travelator starts to move. If you look at the wheels on the front, they are starting to go around. So what we're looking for then, folks, is when we twist the rope and it twists straight back. That means it's strong enough to go to the next stage. So it's just about, yeah, do you reckon that's there?
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, okay, look. So next then. So next time, folks, we have this, which is called a bullet. So you can see, it's a smooth piece of wood, with the grooves in. Each of these grooves, we're going to slide one of those ropes into, and then turn the handle that way. So the rope will form on this point of the bullet. Now what we want with the rope, we want it to be nice and straight. We don't want to have any kinks in it, and we want to cause that nice curl, this classic rope shape, because ropes are nearly always wet. You need to be able to grip them, so you need, and that increases the strength as well. So, we put that like that. Okay, and then we go like this. So if anybody wants to go, you can, folks.
Yeah.
Go on, guys.
I'll have to go.
Right, you want to go inside, yeah?
Go on.
I'll go.
Excellent.
Come in.
That's an amazing view I've got.
I'm sure it is, Andy.
Sorry, Andy.
It's amazing. The guys explained what's going on. He said, do it. Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
He does a lot, but he's been asked if he wants to have a go on something, so he's off having a go. Can you see him?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So you see, then, for every 10, we get the 10.
so what is he doing? So is he
Making rope.
twisting
Making a rope, yeah. Twisting rope. Michael?
How's he been? Where's he still been away?
He's been okay. He's not been good, Andy. He's poorly not been
Yeah,
good.
not bad character. He's been behaved alright.
Oh yeah, that's mostly been fine. There's been the odd moment, but nothing. It's just he's been really poorly. Yeah, going to bed, can't get off to sleep, but not because he can't, but you know, not because he don't want, but because he can't, because he's been coughing a lot. But then there's been other nights when he slept during the day and slept at night as well.
So why we started folks is to drop the bullet to the back. Because otherwise you can see if you kept on turning that bullet would lock. So we just need a little few extra turns like
The
this.
rest of the night, so we just left the leg. Yeah, I should get back to my bed.
So why we do that, why we stop to drop the bullet down, is two things happen if you don't take it out, if you don't drop it down the back. One is that you get a shorter rope. The other is that when you come to cut it, the bullet falls on your foot. Because I know from personal experience. So that's why. There's not much health and safety about this machine, but we do on that one. So now then folks, now this is a special knot for the end. So what we're doing is tying what we call a whipping knot. So we make it into a one like that. We lay that against the rope, and then we go round and round and round, put the end through and pull it all round. So what that does is puts a coat on the outside. Because otherwise, of course, all the energy that's gone into that, it's going to naturally want to come back to us. So, we go round and round.
Is that the tissue on the floor?
Right.
That's my tissue. No, it's not my tissue.
And you can see also, folks, then the wet string, it acts like a mangle as well. As if this tightens in, then the water comes out of the rope as well. So it's still going to take a little while to dry, but once it does, it'll be nice and tough. Well, we better prove it's tough, hadn't we? So, like we said, the most important rope was if it could pull somebody out of the water. So Kate's going to jump in the dock. I said she was this one, right? So she's right. Okay. Next best thing then. Kate's going to stand on the travelator then, folks. So the name travelator, by the way, you probably recognise it from airports because it's a moving pavement and now called a travelator. It originally comes from a rope making machine, but some advertising person thought it was a good idea to pinch the name, so they did. So if we cut through there, like that. So if it's strong enough then, folks, when I pull on the rope, Kate will glide gently forward on the travelator, waving regally as she passes. If it's not strong enough, the rope will snap, that you'll get catapulted through one of those. But that's not going to happen. So, is this a strong rope? Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3. So then, folks, a little bit later then, thank you. So a little bit later then, folks, at 2:30, we're going to be firing the cannon. So what we use the rope for, we use it to make cannonballs. Because we're not allowed to fire a proper cannonball, but we can fire a thing called an octopus knot, which is made out of this rope. So, if you want to come and see that then, folks, that will be, we'll look at some swords as well, some other things as well. But we will be firing the cannon, if you'd like to come and see that. So, that'll be 2:30. So if you fancy a wander around a bit, folks, there's a show called Fighting Ships. If you haven't been on Fighting Ships yet, that goes at 2 o'clock from just past the printers. So that's a 20-minute walk-through show. If you'd like to see that, you can see that before the guns, because it's 20 minutes, so you still have a gap. Otherwise, the ship's open, of course, the coffee shop and the Museum of Hartlepool next door. So if you'd like to come and see us again, folks, it'll be 2:30. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching.